Supposedly built in the 1870s by Mr. Merrit. A bunch of mansions along the lake. This is the last one surviving. What we'll do is do a little walk about the grounds. We'll talk about the history of this area and the Inheritors, the big four. So the Stanford family history is very obscure. It came from Albany, New York. Alright folks, we are at the Camron-Stanford House, Oakland, California. Beautiful Lake Merritt. So this was supposedly built in 1876 by Samuel Merrit, developer, inheritor. This was the last remaining Victorian mansion around the lake that was saved and made into the first museum of Oakland. So you can see nice symbolism. The sun in the center and the leaf pattern. Mud flood door, half a door going down. It's a service entrance covered by a steel plate. And I suspect all this woodwork was like refurbished. And the cement, of course. This looks like it's old growth redwood. And this woodwork is incredible. I think it's much older than what they say. So it's lived in by 4 wealthy families around Oakland, the Camrons and the Stanfords, Hewletts. The most significant we're gonna focus on is the Stanford family. Leland Stanford was the governor of California during the Civil War. His brother Josiah is the one who lived here. Leland Stanford's mansion is in Sacramento. He's the governor that was inaugurated during the flood, 1862, and some really weird history about their family. So this area has been added on, but notice the brick foundation here. So here's the grade, and then notice the brick foundation matches the where the wood paneling and this door is. Pretty strange construction. And this slopes downward, more brick going into the ground. And then you have vents. And this area, I think, from studying the photos, is a newer construction. But the original house just looks like it goes deeper in the ground and it's been modified, like all the Victorian homes. Across the street is a nice brick building with the arch windows in front. You got the typical patterning of the era, Spanish tile roof. That's an old world building. And then looking over here, you have the Masonic Temple. We'll go check that out. There's Leland, Stanford, or well, they were definitely Masons. And I think Inheritors of the old world. It's a beautiful little garden area. So Josiah Stanford made his fortune during the gold rush by developing a way to tunnel for oil. And what's kind of strange is he had his buddy Charles Crocker, one of the big four robber barons, railroad tycoons, provide his Chinese immigrants that he apparently imported to provide the labor to build this huge 80-foot tunnel as a way to get the oil instead of drilling in the San Joaquin Valley. There's the Masonic Lodge, Lake Merritt, Oakland. Notice the double-headed eagle, the 33. That's probably the third of the angels that fell. And then you have up here the sculpture of the king in the center, surrounded by So Leland Stanford, the brother of Josiah, was a lawyer and or wanted to become a lawyer, had a law practice, okay. And then what's strange is like his library that his father gave him burned down. So then he had to join his brothers out here in California. Alright, so Leland Stanford first ran for governor, 1850s, lost. Then in 1861 he won as a first Republican in California because of the slavery issue. So he was actually famously inaugurated during the Great Flood of 1862, and he, like Sacramento, the capital, he had to take a rowboat to the Capitol building because he refused to delay the inauguration or something. The whole valley was flooded for like months, apparently, so that's pretty strange. A lot of things don't add up looking at their history, because he first like ran a general store in Wisconsin or something, no, Michigan, then came out in 1852 to join his brothers who were already here. And they're like landowners and merchants that made money during the gold rush. And then the railroads was when Huntington came. He supposedly talked to the surveyor, said, hey, they have a way of, crossing the Sierra Nevada to get to build the Transcontinental Railroad. So he, like, Huntington, one of the big four robber barons, railroad tycoons, asked Stanford, was like, yo, can you invest in this? Like, he's like, of course, okay. He was one of the guys that laid the golden spike in Utah or wherever, and it was in 1869. So this motherfucker had like $50 million at the time of his wealth, which would be like 1.6 billion. He was like one of the billionaires. Then they endowed him and his wife, like endowed most of their wealth to build Stanford University, which is now, of course, one of the big four, or one of the Ivy League. So another strange thing about the Stanfords is their son, Leland Stanford Jr., like died of typhoid fever when he was 15. They went over a trip to Europe. That's the narrative. And then, yeah, he died of typhoid fever. So that's why they named it. That's why they dedicated the university to their son. And then after Leland Stanford died, like of some weird disease called locomototaxia in the 1890s, his wife was actually like poisoned. 12 years later, two times she survived the first attempt, fled to Hawaii, and then her maid or someone like poisoned her with strychnine. And it was apparently like covered up because the university professor, because she was like butting heads or something, trying to control everything with the university endowment. And then like after she died, the university president or some shit like came over to Hawaii, paid off the coroners, bribed, and like, oh no, she just died of natural causes. And then it was just not just until recently, like, 100 years later, that they finally like had to admit, oh, I mean, it's never been solved, but they admitted, yeah, she was probably poisoned. Like, that shit's fucked up. It's pretty weird stuff about these railroad tycoons we're gonna delve into in a deep dive. So this is just the introduction. Give you a little more scenic walk before the sun goes down. There's the four suns. Got four pillars. Crazy about these Stanford Brothers is, so Josiah was digging these tunnels for oil. Like the first one was 80 feet, and then he dug like 40 more tunnels. Then he'd ship the oil to San Francisco, where one of his brothers ran a refinery business. So they were like producing the most oil at one time in all of the state. And then their other brother Leland was the freaking governor. Yeah, so I just find it interesting they kept this building preserved, maybe as a reminder from the old world. It's like double arched windows. These Stanfords were pretty rough bastards. Say 1876. Wow, it's a very strange history. I think these stairs were newer. Let's put in. Just how this fencing just stops. We're on like a mound. You got the courthouse over there. Yeah, it looks kind of sunken down, and then this newer part, or maybe that's like the original floor below the grade, because the lake is right here, which is a natural estuary to the ocean. So this would have been flooded in 1862 when the governor was inaugurated, and then they say this was built 1876. Notice the top has the what's it called, Antiquitech, possibly for electrical conduction. Why would you need that many chimneys, like, for Oakland? It does not get that cold here. I mean, are those actually chimneys? It's pretty weird. It's just kind of spooky house too, like the vibes. But it's a nice view. We'll meander down, do a walk and talk. So here's looking from the lake perspective. There's the temple, Stanford House, Kaiser building right there. That's like the historic building from the 20s. You got the Berkeley Hills, Oakland Hills, Mount Sibley, volcano. They call it ancient volcano. We're gonna explore someday. Over there, this is where the wall, the ancient rock wall, prehistoric. I think it's prehistoric because there's no documentation. So then getting back to the Leland Stanford. I mean, these dudes, they own like wineries. Guy was governor. He was a railroad tycoon. He uses, I mean, come on. Very mysterious. Does it remind you of some people today? Just seem to inherit everything, and their history shrouded in mystery. What is it? We'll take a deeper dive. We'll get to the mystery. We will reveal his baby ducks. Springtime. Nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You always see the baby ducks on the lake this time of year. Alright guys, I'll let you enjoy this moment of nature. Peace and love. Together we shall reveal the truth.